G'day guys, and welcome back to another Makita review. This is, as you can see, gonna be rather impact driver orientated. Another Makita impact driver review. Tools, really? How many have you done? Don't you have enough Makita impact drivers? No such thing. How many Makita impact drivers do I actually have? Well, that kind of depends on who asks. If it's one of you guys, I've got quite a lot. Okay, I've got about 8 at the moment. If it's the wife asking, well, then I have my old one and I have the new one I just got, whatever that may be. Anyway, on the bench here I've got a selection of 18 volt and 40 volt impact drivers, and I've got another one in the box behind me. Why did I need another one? I didn't need another one, but this one's a little bit different and I thought you guys might be interested, so I bought it just so I could show you guys. So it's your guys' fault when my wife asks. So I got the one in the case behind because it is a different color essentially. I mean, you might be saying, hey, they're all a different color. What are those? They're purple. I've never seen a purple Makita impact driver before. If you haven't seen a Makita purple impact driver before, then I'm assuming you are new to this channel. Take a look down there if you want to see how to get one of these. We've got 3 different ones here in the 18 volt, so they're 3 different generations. This one being the oldest, and then that one, and then this one being the newest with a ring light. How cool is that? And controls on the back, also very cool. Links to all those will be down in the description. Also, these 2 40 volt ones, they will be down there as well. This looks different because Makita have started releasing some higher output batteries, and this new 4 amp hour one is in a video that I did, which is down in the description and up in the top corner depending on what you're watching this on. So go check that out if you're interested. Now let's take a look at why this one in the background is different. It's different for 2 reasons. It's kind of different for 3 reasons actually, because this is a brushed impact driver. I don't think I have any brushed impact drivers anymore. I've got about, don't tell the wife, 20 impact drivers, and this is the only one I've got, I think, that is brushed. Now, this you will quickly see was not purchased in this country. I got it from Japan. That's why the battery charger is still in a bag, because it's 110 volts, which is no good in this part of the world. Now, another thing you'll notice, why does the front of this battery look all bung, like it's been pushed in? Makita 18 volt batteries don't look like that, do they? That's because this is not an 18 volt tool. This is a 14.4 volt tool. These are the original LXT tools. Before the 18 volt, there was briefly around the world a 14.4 volt, also called LXT. Basically the same batteries, they fit basically on the same tools, we'll get to that shortly, and they're just 14.4 volt instead of 18 volt. Now some of you are saying, well, there's no point in buying that, the charger's not going to charge the batteries, and I don't have a 14.4 volt charger. Well, you probably do, because if you have an 18 volt LXT charger like this, then the 14.4 volt batteries will clip straight on. And if you look down here, you'll see lithium ion 14.4 to 18 volts, as well as nickel metal hydride 7.2 to 14.4 as well. So there you go. No problem at all. They will work on any charger that you can charge these on. So this battery has 4 cells here instead of 5 that would normally make up a 1.5 amp hour 18 volt battery. And these batteries that most of us are familiar with, ranging from 3 amp hour up to 6 amp hour, are all 10 cells. So you've got 5 in series, another 5 in series, and then they're paralleled up to give you more amp hour but same voltage. Now, in most of the world, the 14.4 volt system sort of faded away. Once the 18 volt came along, it pushed the 14s out of the way and took over. But in Japan, they still release a lot of tools. In fact, they usually release most impact drivers, including all these fancy ones, in 14.4 volt as well as the 18 volt. And in some other countries in the world you can still buy 14.4 volt as well, but not in this country. They sell some of the production models here in New Zealand, but they don't sell all the range of tools like they do in Japan. So let's take a look at the tool, because it looks a little funny. Now remember, this is a genuine Makita tool. Notice what's different about it? Can you see that it's a little bit backwards? And what do I mean by backwards? Well, the colors are inverted. Here is what your traditional Makita impact driver looks like. You have teal coloured nylon with black TPE overmolding, whereas this one you can see is the other way around. Let's get that out of the way. Black TPE overmolding, teal TPE overmolding. That's right, the whole thing is back to front. So we've got black plastic on this one with teal overmolding, teal plastic on this one with black overmolding. So I pretty much bought it for that reason alone. And because it is 14.4 volt, and I wanted to show you guys some of those, although some of you will have seen them in my other videos before. But it does make the tool personally look a little bit like it's a knockoff to me, but it definitely is not. The problem I can see with this TPE overmolding being teal rather than black is that I can already see it's getting dirty just from me handling it. From the short period I've had it, it's starting to get a little bit brown coloured, losing the teal pretty quick. So it's probably going to become a really dirty looking impact driver much quicker than one of these ones, which have had much longer and not too dirty, but a brown muddy splodge like is on the front of that one is going to look much worse on this. So if you're into aesthetics and keeping your tool looking nice and clean, then maybe this is not the tool for you. Now if you want one with this sort of look, and like I said, that's the reason I bought it, then you will need to get one from Japan as far as I'm aware. I don't know if they sell them anywhere else apart from Japan in this livery. You can get ones that look like the traditional sort of design. This is of course the soft impact, not the same model as this, but you know, you get the drift. I wasn't going to buy two of them just to compare them. This is the TD134D. In most of the world it will be the DTD134. Now if you do get a DTD134 though, it will look like this one, not the inverted color scheme, which I think is only available in Japan. Now like I said before, in Japan you can get 14.4 volt and 18 volt in the same impact drivers, and that includes this one. So there is an 18 volt model of this called the TD146D in Japan that has the same backwards TPE overmolding colouring, or in the rest of the world it would be the DTD146 and look like this. Anybody confused yet? Paying attention at the back? So the main reason I bought it, different colour, but also because it's got these tiny little 14.4 volt batteries. It came with two 1.5 amp hour batteries, and I thought that's nice small compact batteries, as opposed to using these ones with massive batteries, or these ones with horrifically massive batteries for an impact driver. So I wanted something a little bit smaller and lighter, something that you're going to use for small screws. I've been using this only for small screws so far, up to about say 50mm 2 inches. Haven't driven any big lags or batten screws or tech screws or anything like that yet, but I will do in a moment. But there's also another thing I noticed about this tool when I got it that I'd completely forgotten about. Brushed tool. Pulled the trigger and I thought, oh, there's that smell I haven't smelt for so long from an impact driver or a drill or anything, because all the ones I've got now, they're all brushless, but this is a good old-fashioned brushed model. You'll also see this area here is blanked off. There is no settings for this tool. It's a good old-fashioned pull the trigger and away you go. It is of course a there's that smell. A variable speed trigger. I can't believe I missed the smell of brush tools. So yeah, it's got quite a range of motion. It's quite a good trigger actually. Now this will spin up to 2400 RPM and 3200 impacts per minute. The 18 volt one, interestingly enough, 100 RPM less, and 3200 impacts. The 14.4 volt, 155 newton meters. The 18 volt, only 5 more at 160. So 155 is okay for most things, but if you're doing really big stuff, then you'll want one of these other impact drivers. This one rated at 180 newton meters. These ones 220, something like that. So it's a little bit lower, but it's also a little bit lighter. Let's just weigh this compared to the 18 volt ones and see how much difference there is. I mean, this is the 173. This is the top of the line Makita Impact Driver, the most recent one, not available in most parts of the world. If you want one, have a look down there. And so I'll weigh it against that. Now, most people will use these with a 3, 4, 5 or 6 amp hour 18 volt battery. They're all the same weight, give or take a few grams, because they all have the same amount of cells in them. Let's take a look. 1.5 kgs. And this one we can get in at just over 1.2. So 300 grams lighter, so that's nice. Tool itself, not that small and compact, but this area here, much more compact, as you can see, compared to that. Now I hear you saying, well, you can put a 1.5 amp hour battery on the 18 volt, and of course you can, and I will do that right now. One behind me here somewhere, 1.5 amp hour battery. Oh, look at that, 1243. Well, just over 1.2 as well, but if I took that off, it'd basically be exactly the same weight as this. So as you can see, I've accomplished absolutely nothing, apart from having a smaller form factor at the bottom of the tool. But I do have an impact driver that's a different color, and I do kind of collect impact drivers now. It's become a bit of a sick obsession. So there it is. It came in a kit with two 1.5 amp hour batteries, charger, manual, case. Boom. Now some of you are probably wondering, can you put the 14.4 volt battery on the 18 volt tool so that you can run the 18 volt one that you were just showing off and said was so cool with the small tiny battery? Well, let's take a look. There's one of the other batteries here, and they are very light batteries. Let's put that on here. Will it go on the new DDT, or in this case TD173D? It does. What happens when I pull the trigger? Put it in the right position. No worries at all. So why does it still work? Because 14.4 volts is less than 18 volts. The cutoff of these tools is a little bit lower than that, so it just will think it's an 18 volt battery that's down to 14.4 volts. But you won't get too much runtime out of it before it drops too low to be used. You'll be able to use these batteries longer on this impact driver than an 18 volt one, because by the time this gets down to about 12 volts, it will stop working, whereas this one might give you another couple of volts below that. But as you can see, it does make the front of the tool much nicer than that. Much more compact. Quite cool. I like it. Nothing's sticking out the front. It makes this the furthest sticking out point, instead of these other ones where the battery actually sticks out past the collet and chuck of the tool. What about putting an 18 volt battery on a 14.4 volt tool? Well, this is where we run into a problem, because we've now got more voltage. So this thing might freak out and burn out, right? Well, it's not going to be a problem because they don't go on. Now they're both LXT. The battery designs look almost identical when you look at the rail section. There's very little difference. I had a good old look over it, and the difference is on this rail here. There is a groove here. It's a little bit deeper and wider than the one here on the 18 volt. So that little groove allows the 14.4 volt battery to go over a little plastic nub in there. That's it. A little bit of plastic is crashing on the rail on the 18 volt, preventing it from going in. So you can use a 14 on an 18, but you can't use an 18 on a 14. Now I know a lot of guys like impact drivers without settings because they want to be in control and just do it with their finger on the trigger. Don't need a whole lot of settings like all these fancy ones have. And so fair enough. And so you know that you can drive little screws and stuff with this, no problem at all. It's a Makita. But I will now go, countries that made them, better check that, made in China. I'm now going to go and drive some big stuff and just see at what point it can drive up to, so you can see whether this sort of impact driver is any good for you. Can a 14.4 volt Makita with only a 1.5 amp hour battery drive a 5-inch Simpson's strong drive SDWS timber screw into some pine? It's dry, it's treated, let's go. Wow, that did a lot better than I thought it would. Yeah, impressive. Let's now double it and try a 10-inch Simpson strong drive SDWS timber screw. See how it handles that. That is a big task for any impact driver, let alone a little 14.4 with a small battery on like this one is. But let's give it a whirl. Wow, I'm impressed. Who needs a big impact driver? You know, why spend all the money on the big fancy 40 volt ones and stuff when this little 14.4 volt can do that? You know, who needs brushless when a brushed one can do that? I don't know why I've been spending my money on all these tools all these years. That is pretty darn good. Even got the heads below flush. I am impressed. For most people, that's all the impact driver you would need. Although, if you were driving big 10-inch screws like that all day, this thing's probably going to get pretty hot pretty quick, and you might end up killing it pretty fast if you want to use it exclusively for doing things like that. Doing one every now and again, like I've just done, no problem at all. For comparison, this is the new Makita TD173D. And so we'll do the same thing, 5-inch, then 10-inch. Let's go. Put it on the right setting might help first. Goes in a bit quicker and with less struggle. But the other one still did it. So I just tried this side here with the Panasonic, and it couldn't get them flush, whereas this thing just wants to keep driving them in. This, more powerful at the moment than this. Makita for the win. I wonder if I can run something obscure. What's that doing? I wonder if I can run something really obscure with it, just for YouTube fun. Like, say, an 18 volt Milwaukee chainsaw. Da 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 da. Right, let's give this a whirl. Is it gonna work? Look at that. Sounds pretty grunty too. So if you want a lightweight battery for your Milwaukee top handle chainsaw, well then there you go. The Makita 14.4 volt 1.5 amp hour battery is nice and light. How light is it? Just the battery. 293 grams. By comparison, a 18 volt 1.5 amp hour, 357 grams, and the batteries I use most of the time, and a lot of you will use most of the time, the 5 amp hour 18 volt, 623 grams, although there was 2 grams showing, so we'll round that down to 620, shall we? So this battery, less than half of that battery, yeah. I'm so used to using the high-end impact drivers that I forgot just how good a lower-end impact driver could be. Now, if only I had an impact driver that had this small form factor down the bottom here with the battery and a small top like the 173. Because the 173, as you can see, is much shorter So if only we could have the short top and the small battery, then it'd be perfect. Oh wait. That's right. Sweet. Thanks for watching. See you next time.